I hope and pray that the Most High God, the God of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yisrael, has mercy on us, look down on us, and have compassion on us, and accept all the things that we attempt to do here on this holy Shabbat day, and bless us for it. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. At this time, I'm going to call the teacher of the morning. Yaladim, don't go anywhere yet. And I pray that the Most High God is with him and that he could get all the things that he needs to say out, and that we can retain the information that's being brought to us, and that you will give him your full, undivided attention. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. As I bring before you, Adon Samal Zacar, Ben Dan, Ben Yisrael, Baruch haba. Baruch haba.
First and foremost, just want to offer all honest praises, respect, acknowledgement, and thanks unto the great King of the universe, Amen. To the God of our fathers, to the God of Abraham, the God of Yitzchak, and the God of Yaakov, thanking him for all things and everything. I bid you in the tongue of our forefathers. Shabbat Shalom L'Kol. Please be seated. Thanking the Most High God for life, strength. Thanking him for food, clothing, and shelter. Thanking the Most High God for knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Thanking the Most High God for allowing us to understand certain things in these days and times. Thanking the Most High God for all things and everything. I thank him for your lives. I thank him for him allowing us to arrive here safely, and I hope safely. And I hope and pray that he'll give us a joyous day and allow us to return home in safety and in peace. The reason that I just ask for y'all young ones to stay for a little while longer. You know, there's this portion. This portion is an interesting portion, and Moreh Yiftach touched on the portion related to it. You know, you have a portion where Yaakov is now about to, he's at his last days. And, you know, Yaakov being the man that he was, and he's starting to pass this down to his children. And this, I think that the remaining portion of 47, but mostly the interaction with him and Yosef is important in 48. I think it's important for children to understand as well as adults, because, you know, unfortunately right now what's happening is we're in a time where many things are contrary to Torah. And you're gonna probably hear me talk about that Torah, use that term Torah a lot today, and then just moving forward, because what's happening right now is we're in a time and a place where everybody is moving in the fashion that they want. Just like Moreh Yiftach said, live and let live. And unfortunately, that attitude or that understanding is leading us further and further away from God.
That's right.
But more importantly than it's leading us further and further away from God, we don't even realize and recognize that it's leading us further and further away from God, right? Because we're really losing our concept of Torah. Torah isn't some magical word.
No, sir.
Torah isn't some magical thing. Basically what Torah is the way that God required that we conducted ourselves before him. That's really all it is. A lot of it is very clear when he talks about certain things, and then a lot of it, some of it is a little bit subtle, where you need to read and interpolate and read with understanding and with comprehension about the things that's being brought forth. So, because I know y'all always in a rush to go into to Hebrew class, I'm gonna try to get through 47 and 48 pretty quickly so that y'all could go. But I do think that there's some things in 48 that will be helpful to us as parents and to us as children. So, whenever you're ready. Actually, so before you go in, so we starting this. So we're at the point where Yosef has just bought. Jacob just came down into Egypt, and the Most High God, because of the life that Jacob lived, he was hesitant about a lot of things because he went through a lot, and And so now when he's like, well, the sons come back and they like, Joseph is alive, and Jacob is looking like, nah, I don't believe y'all. But he saw the wagons. He saw Benjamin. Right. That was probably the first thing that, Shalom, Abba, where's Benjamin? Yo, Abba, where's Benjamin? Saw Benjamin, saw the wagons, and he said, I'm going to go. He stood before Pharaoh, and now he's starting to revive. And one of the things that you're going to see is you're going to see a transformation in Yaakov, in Jacob, from the last portion to this portion. And it just shows that no matter how old you are, you can still grow. Yes. It shows that no matter how old you are and the things that you went through and all of the different good experiences, good and bad, that you've had, when you trust in God and you follow the things that God say, there's always that opportunity for life to get better. Yeah. And you're going to see Jacob's whole outlook change. Right. So let's get started.
We're in the book of Genesis, the 47th chapter, starting at the 28th verse. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And Jacob lived in the land of Egypt 17 years. So the days of Jacob, the years of his life, were 147 years. And the time drew near that Yisrael must die. And he called his son Joseph and said unto him, If now I have found favor in thy sight, put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh, and deal kindly and truly with me. Bury me not, I pray thee, in Egypt.
All right, so now I got to kind of address this, and y'all got to forgive me, because I'm hoping that I don't laugh my way all the way through this. As serious as I try to be most of the time, some things are just silly. And so, obviously, and Chief Uziel touched on it last week, if you, in certain Talmudic, and based on Talmudic teaching, they indicate that this putting a hand under the thigh is and causing them to swear is I'm actually just gonna read it so y'all ain't know I ain't make this up. It says in Talmudic tradition, this means the circumcised membrum. So you know I didn't make that up, because I would never use the word membrum, because I'm not exactly even sure what it means. But it says the circumcised membrum of the patriarch was held in hand. So now for those of us who understand, we understand. For those of y'all who hopefully don't, hopefully y'all won't need occasion to run into this type of situation. But, so now, my response is, if this is what the Talmud says, then you know what? I'm not interested. And what they say is, this comes from the rule that all Jewish oaths must be sworn while some ritual object is in hand. Anybody read this? Anybody read anything related to this in Torah? Anything far, anything close? So now, this is why I tell you, this is why we study Torah. And we don't study Mishnah. And we don't study Talmud. And we don't study Shulchan Aruch. And all of the rest of those different things. And one of the things that you'll get is when you understand Torah, when you read all the rest of those books, you'll realize that Torah was written by one group of people, yes, and those books was written by somebody else.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Because nowhere in Torah, in Scripture, in the book of Isaiah, and in the book of Kings, was any of this talked about. And when it was talked about, it wasn't talked about as being right. So now, I know Chief Uziel read last week, certain things are in Torah. What it said Yaakov came, he saw Joseph, and he kissed his son. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's Torah. Yeah. He didn't French kiss his son, no, but he grabbed him, gave him a hug, gave him a kiss. I mean, it's okay. Yeah, that's right. Come give me a kiss, son. Certain traditions are for certain times. I understand that and I recognize that. But you see the things that are related to us, and then you see things like this that are clearly not.
That's right. That's right.
Men don't touch men?
No, there you go.
That's nowhere in Torah. So if you coming across a situation where somebody is trying to see, the issue is when people translate things based on their understanding of how things should go.
you go.
And that's why when like people might, my response right now is a lot of people that's gonna say you being real homophobic. I'm not really being homophobic. I'm just telling you what I do and what I don't do.
Right.
And based on what I read, I'm telling you that I don't see anything closely related to that in what I read in the book of God.
That's right.
But for you to read that and translate that as what you translated as in Talmud,
Yeah.
then maybe that's part of the customs of where you came from.
There you go.
But that's not part of the customs of where me and my people came from.
No. At all. That's right.
I'm sure.
Teach it.
Verse 30. But when I sleep with my fathers, thou shalt carry me out of Egypt, and bury me in their burying place. And he said, I will do as thou hast said. And he said, swear unto me. And he swore unto him, and Yisrael bowed down upon the bed's head.
And so one of the things that you realize is that at this point, Yaakov was bringing something to Yosef that was important. He wanted to make sure that Yosef was fully aware of exactly what it was that, you know, the oath that he was about to bestow upon him. And one of the things for me, and again, I don't want anybody to feel like I'm taking shots. I don't want people to feel like I'm slighting anybody. But the fact of the matter is that Torah and Judaism are different.
That's right.
100%.
Day and night.
100%.
We need to recognize the differences between Torah and Judaism.
That's right. That's right.
We need to understand the differences between Torah and Judaism.
That's right.
And most important, we need to teach
That's right.
the differences between Torah and Judaism.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
And I cringe, me personally, I cringe when I see that just from my time being around where we worked so hard to toss that whole image of Judaism out.
Teach us.
Just to see it seeping and creeping back in. And just to see us flocking to it.
Okay.
That's a fact.
When I first came around, now obviously granted people dress the way they dress where I first came in, but then when I got exposed to Moreh, you would have never walked up in a place and saw Moreh standing and teaching God's word with a baseball hat, a fitted, a hoodie, or anything like that. Every Unity Shabbat that I went to, and I watched them, the ones that they held at BINAH when her Shabbat was there, every one, you saw people in robes, and they looked exactly like you would picture God's people to look. Now, I understand that what we're doing right now is, I fully understand that this is not the same service that the priest did. I recognize that.
Okay.
However, when the priests had their service before God, the priests were required to dress a certain way.
100%.
Priests didn't wear sunglasses or glasses unless those was his glasses. It wasn't necessary. Because the fact of the matter is when you come up here, it's not a show that you putting on for you. It's a show that you're representing God.
Amen.
That's why God said you dress a certain way. When you officiate, and I understand, I'm not coming up here and we're not slaying animals and doing all of those things, but the fact is God said when you officiate before me, these are the clothes that you wear to officiate.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Just like that. That's right.
Isn't this a form of officiating before God?
100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
That's right.
Why would now be any different?
That's right. Teach us.
Come on.
Chapter 48. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And it came to pass after these things that one said to Joseph, Behold, thy father is sick. And he took with him his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And one told Yaakov and said, Behold, thy son Joseph cometh unto thee. And Yisrael strengthened himself and sat upon the bed.
Because as the father, you want to maintain yourself as the father at all times.
There you go.
You know, these are the ones that you raised, that you brought up, and they always saw you standing strong and standing firm. And as a father, as a mother, as a parent, that's what you want to continue to show. So even though Jacob was sick and he wasn't feeling well and his time was coming near, his son was coming in, and he still had to prop himself up because he had to show his son from the man that you saw when you first came out to the man that you see now, I'm the same one.
That's right. That's right.
That's what he had to show him.
That's what he do.
So when you see parents take such the approach that they take, it's because parents always have to be parents to their children.
That's That's right. That's right.
You never become friends.
Never.
Y'all might be cool.
Yeah.
Y'all could be cool.
Yeah.
Y'all never become friends.
That's right.
Because once you blur that line between parent and child, you put yourself in to problems.
That's right. That's right.
Every time.
All the time.
Come on.
And Jacob said unto Joseph, God Almighty appeared unto me at Luz, in the land of Canaan, and blessed me, and said unto me, Behold, I will make thee fruitful and multiply thee, and I will make of thee a company of people.
And Jacob was always talking about God. And I want you to understand, I want to really look close at this interaction now between Jacob and Joseph. Come on.
And will give this land to thy seed after thee for an everlasting possession. And now thy 2 sons who were born unto thee in the land of Egypt, before I came unto thee in Egypt, are mine. Ephraim and Manasseh, even as Reuben and Shimon, shall be mine.
So every single interaction where you see Yaakov talking about anything, he's always talking about God. When he's addressing his children, he's addressing them as it relates to God. So for those of us who think that we're being extremists and we're being fundamentalists and right wing when we always talking about God, let me tell you something. Without God, there is no other option.
That's right.
That's
Listen, if you think your life is good now,
Teach
imagine,
us.
you have no idea how your life would be without God.
Teach us.
You know, when we go on vacation, I know we go on vacation, but the fact is I like to go to the poorest part and all of that because, see, American children, we think it's all sweet. We think it's all sweet. And it doesn't really register until you look and you see what poor really is. I mean, we get upset and worked up because we can't get the sneakers that we wanted. We can't get those new Timbs. And look, I can't afford it. You can afford it because you make this. And all of those, who you think you're talking to?
Right.
Last time I checked, I was the parent.
Right.
Last time I checked, you know what? Matter of fact, I can't afford, what I meant to say was, I can't afford those new Jordans for you.
Right.
But I'm going to take you with me and we going to go and you going to watch me buy them for me. Because I'm the one that worked. And the fact is that, and again, it's not that we got life changed. And so we changed. And we got a little softer because, you know, the world got harder or the world got different. So we got a little softer. So when we interact with our children, we don't interact with them with the same way our parents interacted with us. And I'm not going to say it's right or wrong because things change. But what I am going to say is that you need to recognize when your life is good.
Mm-hmm.
And stop taking that for granted.
Teach us.
Because
Teach
the fact of the matter is as poor as we are and the slaves that we are, listen, I'm looking at everybody in here and everybody looking real good.
Torah Yeho.
I'm seeing nice, fresh, old construction Timbs. I'm seeing nice, shiny shoes. I'm seeing nice, all types of everything. I don't see nobody in here looking hungry. You see that? And the fact is we don't see those things as blessings. That's the problem. We see them as, that's what you're obligated to do for me. No, it's not. It's not. Come on.
And that verse 6. And thy issue that thou begettest after them shall be thine.
So what he's saying is because Yaakov respected Yosef. He respected Yosef because Yosef was smart. Yosef listened to everything that Yaakov told him as it related to God. And Yaakov recognized that and he respected him for it. Because that was something that was to be commended. Come on.
They shall be called after the name of their brethren in their inheritance. And as for me, when I came...
Hold on. So now, what he's saying is, so now, your 2 sons, my 2 sons.
Right.
They get the same rights as Simeon and Levi.
Right.
That's important.
Right.
They get the same rights as Simeon and Levi. To me, whatever kids you have after you,
Right.
they're yours.
Right.
These are mine.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because God had revealed certain things to Yaakov that he only revealed to Yaakov. And nobody else was going to understand it but Yaakov. Come on.
And as for me, when I came from Padan, Rachel died unto me in the land of Canaan in the way, when there was still some way to come unto Ephrat. And I buried her there in the way to Ephrat, the same as Beit Lechem. And Israel behold Joseph's sons and said, Who are these? And Joseph said unto his father, They are my sons, whom God hath given me here. And he said, Bring them, I pray thee, unto me, and I will bless them. Now the eyes of Israel were dim for age, so that he could not see. And he brought them near unto him, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Yisrael said unto Joseph, I had not enough to see thy face. I have not thought to see thy face. And lo, God hath let me see thy seed also. And Joseph brought them out from between his knees, and he fell down on his face to the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim in his right hand toward Yisrael's left hand, and Manasseh in his left hand towards Yisrael's right hand, and brought them near to him.
So now, just looking at it logistically for a minute, because the terminology provides a different description than what's actually here. When they talk about, and he brought them from between the knees and all of those different things, it kind of gives the impression that these were little kids.
Right.
They were not. These were grown men. If you just look at the progression of what happened here, Yaakov was 17 years in Egypt from the time that he met Joseph, right? So that means they were at least 17 because they were born before that. So when it said that they were born before the years of the famine, right. So that means they were born somewhere in the range 4 or 5 years before Yaakov came to Egypt. So these kids were at least 19, but probably somewhere in their 20s. So these weren't children.
Right.
These were grown men. And Yosef brought them there, and he presented them before his father, and he presented them before his father with Manasseh in his left hand and Ephraim in his right hand. And that's the way he presented them to his father. But not little children, grown men. And the reason that I think that is important is because a lot of times we as a people don't think that we should have certain conversations around our children, which is not the case.
Yes.
How are they going to learn and understand life if they don't experience what life is all about in an actual scenario where you teaching and talking about life?
Right. Come on.
You know, I was watching the news, this was a couple of months ago, I believe. And I want you to understand that right now, we are the only ones still babying our little ones, as if they're babies. We're the only ones. The news story showed, I believe the kid was 6. And the little 6-year-old had a rifle, shoot the rifle, break it down, unload it, reload it, right. Put it back together, shoot it again.
Right.
6. And the father was there, good son. And the mother was there, good son. I'm not trying to say we need to start putting guns in kids' hands and all of those different things. But what I think I just heard a sigh of relief, like, whoo, this is what he wanted us to stay here for? It's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that, and I know what it is, because we've been through so much, we do our best to try to protect them. And the thing is once you, at a certain point, you need to realize that you could do all of the protecting that you want. God is the ultimate protector. And that's the point that you need to, that's the point that we all need to get to and that we all need to understand. God is, when my Q, you know, this one, the oldest one, T, when she was a baby, I might have told y'all this before. When she was a baby, I used to walk in, I told y'all about it, I used to carry her around, but I don't know if I told y'all this part. I used to sing to her every day. And I used to sing this Prince song to her. She's the only person in this world that think I could sing. And then she got older, so now she's not too sure. Every day, I used to sing this Prince song. could you be the most beautiful girl in the world? Every day. And so now when she had to leave and start going to high school by herself and go from Starlight City all the way, she had to take the A train and go all the way to Park Slope in Brooklyn. I had fits every day. She had to call when she got to school. She had to call at lunch. She better had called when she got home. And if she forgot to call or if the phone was dead, I was ready to leave work. Because that's my baby. And again, we protect and we protect and we protect. And it's perfectly okay. But at a certain point, we also need to start to treat them like adults. We need to talk to them like adults. And we need to tell them and show them what life is really all about.
Right.
Come on.
And Yisrael stretched out his hand, verse 14, and laid it upon Ephraim's head, who was the younger, and his left hand upon Manasseh's head, guiding his hands wittingly, for Manasseh was the firstborn.
Right.
And he blessed Joseph and said, the God before whom my fathers Abraham and Yitzchak did walk, the God who hath been my shepherd all my life long unto this day, the angel who hath redeemed me from all evil, bless the lads and let my name be named in them, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Yitzchak, and let them go into a multitude in the midst of the earth. And when Joseph saw that his father was laying his right hand upon the head of Ephraim, it displeased him. And he held up his father's hand to remove it from Ephraim's head unto Manasseh's head. And Joseph said unto his father, not so, my father, for this is the firstborn. Put thy right hand upon his head. And his father refused and said, I know it, my son, I know it. He also shall become a people, and he also shall be great. Howbeit, his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his seed shall become a multitude of nations.
So now, I want let's just read and look at what's happening here.
Right.
Jacob is talking about the God before whom my fathers walked, Abraham and Isaac. The God who has been my shepherd all my life long, all this day. That's what Jacob is saying. And Joseph is not listening to any of that.
No.
Because he's too busy concerned about the father blessing the wrong one.
Right.
In the wrong order.
Yes.
That makes sense? So now, because maybe I didn't discuss this part. So, I always get this confused. You know, sometimes when I'm giving directions and I say, yeah, so you got to make a right. I still do that. It's just habit. Sorry. Joseph came with Manasseh in his left hand, which would have been on his father's right side,
There you go.
and Ephraim in his right hand, which would have been on his father's left side. Because tradition was that the oldest always gets the double blessing.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So he came and he presented them this way, and Jacob, not being able to see, assessed the situation and did like this.
Yeah. That's what he did.
Because he wanted the right hand on Ephraim's head, because he recognized, or God showed him, or whatever was coming from Ephraim, he recognized that he was going to be stronger than Manasseh.
That's right. That's all this is.
That's what he recognized.
That's it. Teach that.
And in him being like this, blessing and talking about God, Yosef is upset.
Yeah.
This sound familiar? My father don't understand.
Right. Yeah.
My mother don't understand.
Yeah.
She ain't never been 16 before. He ain't never seen this before. They don't understand. That's what Yosef was thinking.
Right.
In the middle of a prayer to God, Yosef is like, my father is not, he's not understanding what's happening here right now.
Right. He's doing this.
And so then he let him go for a little while, figuring he might change.
Yeah.
And then he stopped and he grabbed his hand and he went to take his father's hand and started to move his hand. I don't think I ever grabbed my father's hand in my life. My brother grabbed my mother's hand one time, and that was the worst mistake he ever made.
Teach us.
The point of it was Yosef at this point was, Yaakov was 147.
Yeah.
Yosef was somewhere around 56. Because when he saw his father again, he was 39. He lived in the land 17 years, 17, 39, 56.
Okay.
He was a grown man, all of 56. Joseph's life, by rights, was probably cleaner than his father Yaakov's. Yaakov would tell you in a minute that I wasn't the best parent. He'll tell you in a minute I've been through things and I could have done things better. Didn't change the fact that God dealt with Yaakov as the parent in one way and dealt with Yosef as the child in another.
That's right.
That's what we need to understand.
That's right.
At no point does what Torah always do, what Torah always does, is Torah is always clear on certain things. And at no point is a parent-child relationship blurred when it comes to the parent and how they deal with the child.
That's right. That's right.
That's always clear. Anything on how what the parent owes the child, you made that up.
Right.
Because it ain't in there.
That's right.
That's a fact.
But as a child, you owe your parents everything.
Oh yeah.
And the funny thing that I find so interesting about this was Yosef was incessant about his father blessing Manasseh with the right hand with the double blessing, but you yourself wasn't the firstborn, and your two children, you was 11th down the line. You was 11th. And you got a double blessing as 11th.
Yeah.
At that point, I ain't hear you saying, no, my father. No. I'm 11. If it's some double portions later down the line, then yes. Not so I ain't say that. Because our zeal many times causes us to think that we right. And a lot of times your zeal in causing you to be right leads you down the wrong path.
Right.
And all of this, the hand grab, and all of this was done in front of these two grown children. I think that until we fully understand the nature of the requirements of the relationship between a child that a child owes to a parent, is going to be very difficult for you to get closer to God until you understand that and recognize that. That's important. And I went into all of that, and I used scripture to talk about it and all of that, because listen, I know sometimes, or a lot of times, you might look and you might think, my parent don't understand, and they being too hard, and all of these different things. But all they want is what's best. And they look at you, and guess what? They can see when you not doing 100%.
That's right.
Because they're your parent.
That's right.
They can see that. And they can recognize that. So when we start to have these conversations about parents and children and all of these different things, listen. It's important for you as a child to grasp God's requirement of you as the child. That's important. That's not to say you don't have feelings. It's not to say that we won't do everything we can do for you, because like I said, I see people in here with I see kids in here with jewelry on. I see kids in here with sneakers. I don't see just regular, like your parents could have got you like the regular busted glasses, which is the big glasses off the 2 for $10 rack. They could have got you those glasses. They could have got you those glasses. They could have went to Dwayne Reed and got you the reading glasses, took the lenses out the reading glasses and gave it to the doctor and said, put a prescription in these. The fact of the matter is they did not. And what happens is because we do so much, parents do so much, at a certain point, I think we start to think that y'all think that it's just required of us.
Okay.
And we do it because we care. We do it because we love you. Y'all just need to be glad y'all have parents with a little bit of style, and they dress y'all a certain type of way, Rather than like on Fresh Prince when they was like, Mom, what's the bell bottoms and the, all that stuff. Y'all could have been that. Y'all could have been the ones with the 4-stripe Adidas.
Teach us.
4-stripe Adidas. Y'all could have been those. Y'all could have been the ones that...
Teach us. It's a fact.
This is a healing session. Just let everything out. Let everything come out. Let's just let it all out. Y'all could have been the ones with mountain gears instead of Timberlands. Y'all could have been them.
Yeah.
Just understand what your parents do.
That's right.
And they do it because they love you. We do it because we love you. But it's important that you recognize that, because what's going to happen is when you start to go out and you see other places and you see other things, you get a false understanding of what a parent-kid relationship should be. When you go out and you see where kids could just drop on the floor and do whatever it is that they want and tell their parents, you're not my father, and all those different things. But I actually am your father. But, I don't know why you would say that, but, and you see them do all of that, and you think the good parent is the one that they don't bust you right upside your head. That's the good parent. So we think. The Most High God said, he who he chastised, he loved.
That's right.
Because trust me, it's real easy for us to just let y'all go wherever, but we just can't. It's actually not easy because we can't. Just something for y'all to think about. I could go to class now if y'all want. They good? I mean, the rest of this time is going to be spent talking about dying, so you sure you don't want to? Come on, let's go.
Verse 20. And he blessed them that day, saying, By thee shall Yisrael bless, saying, God make thee as Ephraim and as Manasseh. And he set Ephraim before Manasseh. And Israel said unto Joseph, Behold, I died, but God will be with you and bring you back unto the land of your fathers. Moreover, I have given to thee one portion above thy brethren, which I took out of the hand of the Amorite with my sword and with my bow.
And you know the funny thing about Yaakov is that even with the hand grab and all of that, right after Yaakov calmly set him straight, he was just like, oh, well, what was I saying? Oh, right. So I'm blessing Ephraim and Manasseh. Because that's how parents are. With all of the blow-ups and with all of the, I'm not talking to you, and with all of those different things, parents just recognize that a lot of times the children just doesn't understand. That's what he did. So right. Yeah, right. God make thee as Ephraim and Manasseh, and he still did what he thought was right. Because it said, and he still put Ephraim first. Because that's what God showed him, and that's what he did.
That's right.
Because that's what God showed him. Come on.
Chapter 49, hallelujah.
Sure you don't want to take him? Okay.
And Yaakov
I
called
tried,
unto
y'all.
his sons and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the end of days. Assemble yourselves and hear, ye sons of Yaakov, and hearken unto Yisrael your father. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might and the first fruits of my strength, the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power.
I think right now they all lined up, probably from oldest to youngest, and he's looking at Reuben, and Reuben is like, that's me. You see what he said? Yo, Judah, you heard what he said? He said excellency, dignity, excellency of power. You get anything better than that? Go ahead, Abba.
Unstable as wood.
Oh, wait, what?
Have not
You know his
done
face was like-
excellency.
And Judah was like, that's you. That's you. No, said that's you. Come on.
Because thou wentest up to thy father's bed,
Very, very
then
disrespectful.
defilest thou it. He went up to my couch.
See, I expected y'all to be going, so I can't go into the portion of what I was going to say, provided that y'all was going. So I'm going to just say this. This is referring to the point when he went into his father's concubine in Genesis 35:22. And listen, some things just don't ever become right.
Ever.
Some things just don't ever become right. If you think about the story with David and Absalom and Abishag, David didn't even touch Abishag. And it didn't matter.
It didn't matter.
Your father's wife is your father's wife.
That's right.
So the best thing, I'm not going to get into that. We're just going to move
Stay
on.
away from it.
Stay away. That's the most politically correct answer I could give y'all right now. Come on.
Shimon and Levi are brethren.
Two of them.
Weapons of violence, their kinship.
So now you know once he started with Reuben, you know, look, all bets is off for everybody.
Yeah.
So Shimon and Levi, you know, this is my opinion of Shimon. I don't think Shimon really cared about nothing. Because like when you read about the different, and I'm not saying that in a bad way, I know it sounds like a bad way, but like he was always the one in the middle of everything.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was the one that took Joseph's coat. I'm sure he was the one that pushed Joseph into the pit. I'm sure that was him. Because when they came back and Joseph said, one of y'all gonna stay, you gonna stay.
Yeah, him in jail.
Pointing at me together. I'm still on the fence about Levi. Because I know Levi. But I'm trying to figure out whether Levi helped them take the coat. Or if Levi was just like, take his coat. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? You got some people who are the antagonists and some people who are the doers. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to figure out Levi right now. You know? Come on.
Let my soul not come into their council. Unto their assembly let my glory not be united. For in their anger they slew men, and in their self-will they hewed oxen.
I tell you one thing. Those was the people when you had an issue. Those was the people who you wanted to take with you to resolve that issue. I mean, that's clear. I mean, people go back and forth about whether it was just Simeon and Levi who did everything in the city and then the rest of the brothers came later, or did the rest of the brothers help? I think it was Simeon and Levi who did everything in the city.
That's right. That's it.
Because that's just what they character show. Come on.
Cursed be their anger, for it was fierce.
But this was important.
And their wrath, for it was cruel.
Right.
I will divide them in Yaakov and scatter them in Yisrael.
You know, that statement was prophetic.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the history, and again, this is just a scenario where he has the children lined up and he's speaking. All of these don't really look like blessings, so I ain't gonna really say blessing, but this is where he's speaking to the children who are grown men, letting them know what's gonna happen. And he said, you will be divided in Jacob and scattered in Israel, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Right.
After Egypt, after the bondage in Egypt, and after all of those different things. And the funny thing is they were scattered for two different reasons. Levi was scattered, and it turned out to be a good thing, because they stood up and we're in a situation with the golden calf, and they were scattered, and it turned out to be a good thing. And Simeon was scattered, and it wasn't a good thing. When you read, and just not for you, just in the interest of time, you could go to Joshua 19:1, and it'll tell you that Simeon's inheritance was in the midst of Judah's inheritance.
Yeah.
So Simeon was scattered as well. But the point that I'm trying to make is that the words that came out of their father's mouth was prophetic. It wasn't just empty words. So I don't want you to ever believe that your parent can say something adverse or negative about you and you feel like, that don't matter. That's what you think. Because it do matter.
That's a fact.
And it show you, because this was just a statement based on what he recognized from them. And yet, how many ever years later, depending on how you calculate the slavery and the bondage in Egypt, how many ever years later, this is exactly what happened. Come on.
Yehuda, these shall thy brethren praise. Thy hand shall be on the neck of thine enemies. Thy father's son shall bow down before thee. Yehuda is a lion's whelp. From the praise.
And you know the funny thing is the praiseworthiness with Judah was also spoken to into existence a long time before.
Yeah. Okay.
Because remember with Leah? And Leah said, Yehuda is the one that your brethren shall praise.
That's right.
I mean, if you think about it, let me back up for a minute. Excuse me. Yehuda is the one that your brethren shall praise. And if you read it, Yehuda doesn't mean they will praise. Yehuda actually means he will be praised.
That's right.
That's actually what Yehuda means. He will be praised.
Right.
And that was what she spoke years ago based on the thing that she was going through. And again, her words were prophetic.
That's right.
And I'm going to take this opportunity again to say what your parents feel about you is important. And it matters. That's why when you read things like honor your mother and your father, and you shall, and you shall not lightly esteem your mother and your father, and all of those different things, all of those things have meaning.
Right.
Because guess what? When you do bad in school, trust me, your parents do bad in school. When your parents got to go up to school, like so often happened with me, and my mother had to go up to school, and they was like, yeah, he's a smart kid. He just don't freaking listen to nothing. And my mother's like, this is what I got to come all the way up to this school for? This is embarrassing. And it's embarrassing. Because God put it in us to do better.
Okay.
Because God put it in us to do better. So that shows you the mother speaking something into existence.
Yep.
And that being a common part of Judah's character. Come on.
Yehuda is a lion's whelp. From the prey my son dog gone up. He stooped down, he couched as a lion, and as a lioness, who shall rouse him up? The scepter shall not depart from Yehuda, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, as long as men come to Shiloh. And unto him shall the obedience of the peoples be, binding his foal unto the vine, and his ass's coat unto the choice vine. He washes his garments in wine, and his vesture in the blood of grapes. His eyes shall be red with wine, and his teeth white with milk.
You know the thing about Judah, man. I mean, this is just my take on it. If you wash your garment in the blood of grapes, like you ever get a grape juice stain?
Yeah.
Grape juice just don't come out.
Let it come out.
But Judah obviously had it like that he could just pour a whole bunch of wine in the washing machine and wash it just like that. I don't know what the garment looked like when it came out, but I guess if he drunk as much as they said, it probably didn't even matter anyway. But I'm going to go back to Torah for a minute, because again, everything that Yaakov had blessed thus far was based on Torah. And Yaakov didn't have Torah yet. He had his understanding that his father taught him, but he had the understanding of how to be right before God,
Okay.
which was important. And I think the unfortunate part about us right now is we're still trying to reinstitute in our children what the understanding of Torah is. And the unfortunate part is we fighting against other Israelites as far as the reinstitution, because other Israelites are bringing certain foreign ways and customs.
Right.
And to them, that's their understanding of what Torah is when it's not. Come on.
Zebulun shall dwell at the shore of the sea. He shall be as a shore for ships, and his flank shall be upon Zidon.
You know, that was important, because to be able to keep and maintain that border at the water, that's where trade goes when people are coming in and out. So Zebulun had that important part when you dwell right there by the water, by the ships. Come on.
Yissacar is a large boned ass couching down between the sheepfolds.
See? I bet y'all thought we made up big bones, right? We actually did. You know, I'm not fat, I'm big, but yeah, sure you are. And you look good just like that. Because God ain't make us to be like everybody else. You see how they talked about Raquel? It said she was of nice form. Nice form.
Oh, yeah.
What they say about Abishag? It says she was of nice form. Beautiful to look upon. You look at our sisters and yeah, they don't understand what overweight and all of those things is. They don't know what pretty is. When I look at my sisters, all I see is us. You looking like a snack. I don't look at nobody else that way. Nobody else ain't built that way. Come on.
For he saw a resting place that it was good, and the land that it was pleasant, and he bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant under taskwork.
You know, it's a lot to be said about a person who just do hard work.
Okay.
You ever like met those dudes that come up from the country and their hands be like rocks? Hands feel like rocks and they got veins. They ain't did a push up in their life and they got veins all up in arm and everywhere. That's because they do hard work. As a city boy, I remember I was down in Newberry, South Carolina, and the trailer was cold. And they said, yo, so you need to chop some wood. So I'm like, chop some wood? It's easy. I couldn't even pick up the axe. By the time I picked up the axe and just dropped, I missed the whole piece of wood. The wood was right here, and I missed the whole piece of wood and hit the tree trunk because the axe was just so heavy. And I think I slept the whole next day. Because there's a lot to be said about just hard work. We don't know what hard work feel like. I had a rough day at work today. It was what happened? It was very, very stressful. First I had to deal with this person. Then I had to take the train. Did you have to lift anything? Nah. Did you have to run or do this? Oh no, I didn't have to do it. So why is you so tired? Look, the day was rough. What you want from me? Hard work. Shasaskar, hard work. Come on.
Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Yisrael. Dan shall be a serpent in the way, a horned snake in the path, that biteth the horse's heel, so that his rider falleth backward. I wait for thy salvation, O Yah.
You read that too fast. And you know you read that too fast. Can I get another reader?
I need another one if you want me to read it again.
But you see the thing about, and this is, I mean, just the thing about Don is Don had a very analytical mind. In order to judge people, you have to have a very analytical mind. And the thing about Don, if you notice any Donites, like when people come in and people start talking, you could tell within the first 30 seconds whether that person is full of it or not. Because everybody else is listening. Oh, really? That's what happened? Oh, and the Donites be like, y'all gonna listen to the rest of this? We already know where this is going. We already know. And the thing about that horn snake, I looked up a horn snake.
Yeah.
Just because it was part of the portion and I had to be able to talk about it. And it said that the horn snake is indigenous to the Middle East, so you know that that's where we came from.
Yeah.
It said the horn snake can deliver such a bite that it's not fatal, but it can deliver serious consequences. That's us. Come on. See, and I ain't even take we're gonna move on. Come on.
God, a troop shall troop upon him, but he shall troop upon their hill.
Oh, how could I forget the part about I will wait for your salvation, oh Yahweh. Thank you. Because, I mean, but seriously speaking, a lot of times we look and we think, and you're gonna see from the rest of these, we think that Yaakov thought that his sons were the worst. But I don't think so. Because if you look at the blessings that he gave them, the blessings that Yaakov blessed them with show clearly the ones who Yaakov wasn't too happy with. The rest of them, the blessings are pretty good. Some longer, some shorter, but they all pretty good. And that's what happens. Like when you have a lot of children, all of the children, I mean, unless most of the time, all of our children aren't bad. It's just a select few. And what happens is you focus on the select few more because the select few need a little bit more attention. But after Yaakov is reaching out and he's talking about the blessings and all these, and he's starting to bless these children, and he says, I wait for your salvation, O Yahweh, it's because he's looking at them and he's looking at the first three who was a little shaky. Started to get good with number 4, but the first 3, not for nothing, was a little shaky. Can we agree with that? Okay, we can agree with that. First few was a little shaky. Number 4, and then so what he's starting to see is he's starting to look down the line, and he's starting to see, it wasn't that bad. A couple of things happen. Kids do things. When you got a bunch of boys in the house, boys do things. You know, boys do stuff like it be toothpaste on the ceiling, and you can't figure out how the toothpaste get on the ceiling. And nobody did. How the toothpaste, I don't know. I ain't even brushed my teeth today. I don't know. But he's looking at the rest of them, and he's like, I see the future, and the future's looking bright. Come on.
As for our share, his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties. Naphtali is a hind let loose. He giveth goodly words. Yosef is a fruitful
Hold on,
vine.
because you know Yosef get his own. Yosef got his own section. Own section. But and he's looking at him, and he's looking at it's looking at God, and you see bravery in God, and he's looking at Asher, and he's seeing like the royalty in Asher, and he's looking at Naphtali, and Naphtali, you know, one who speaks goodly words. Somebody who always speak the right thing. And he's looking at all of these different things, and he's seeing the goodness of God right before him in the generations that he's leaving behind. And certain things like loyalty and all of those different things that he was seeing in them, things like that are important. And even though we as a people, we have the various issues that we have, but loyalty is something that you see in us. A lot of times it might be loyalty to the bad thing, to the wrong thing, but it's something that you see. And it's something that you can see clearer when you're in the midst of a people who have none at all. And, you know, just the news over the past week or the past couple of weeks, and you got Mr. Trump, Cuatro Cinco. You have a person who people have done all his dirty work, all of it. And when you aren't useful anymore, he throws you under the bus and tosses you aside. You're talking about an individual who probably never been in a fight in his life.
Never.
For sure never went to war. And yet he become the expert above he becomes the expert
Yes.
on pulling people out of Syria.
Yeah.
Amongst the disagreement of everybody,
Yeah.
including the leader of national security who he put to deal with those types of issues.
Yeah.
4-star general.
Yeah.
But he know more than the 4-star general. It's a lot to be said for those people who you can't counsel with,
Yeah. Amen.
who hear advice from a lot of different places, and the only place that they find the right advice is out their own head.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what we got. Come on. Yosef.
Yosef is a fruitful vine by a fountain. Its branches run over the wall. The archers have dealt bitterly with him and shot at him and hated him. But his bow abode firm. And the arms of his hands were made supple by the hands of the mighty one of Yaakov. From thence, from the shepherd, the stone of Yisrael, even by the God of thy father, who shall help thee, and by the Almighty, who shall bless thee, with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that coucheth beneath, blessings of the breast and of the womb, the blessings
Hold on. And you know the funny thing that I find about Yaakov, at this point, he recognized that those archers and all of those that he's talking about the brothers.
Yeah.
But he didn't focus on what they did. He focused on how Yosef handled it. And I think that was important. Because a lot of times we give so much energy we spend so much energy on the people who do the wrong thing, but we don't give enough energy and strength to those who handled it right. And that was what made Joseph special. Because the thing is that, I mean, as much as Joseph went through, at the end of it all, Joseph was able, at the end of it all, Jacob understood and recognized the difference. But what I also find that was important was that, even with Joseph, as being a goody two shoes and the everything good that we talk about Joseph still could not get over what the brothers did until his brother came to explain to him, I want you to understand what you're doing. Because Joseph was ready to ride it out. Because as good as he was still fixated and couldn't get past that certain point. And then Judah had to tell him, listen, Judah had to tell him and make him to realize, without even realizing that he was making him to realize that he would be doing more harm to his father, who he loved, if he continued with the revenge and the vengeance that he was seeking. And that's why it shows you that as good as you are, no one has all the right answers. Because nobody is perfect except God. And as good as you think you are, as good as we think we are, you always need somebody to counterbalance.
That's right.
It's checks and balances in everything.
Everything.
Come on.
The blessings of thy father are mighty beyond the blessings of my progenitors. Unto the utmost bound of the everlasting hills, they shall be on the head of Yosef, and on the crown of the head of the prince among his brethren. Benjamin.
Hold on. Can you read Genesis 47:9 for me, please?
Genesis chapter 47, verse 9. And Yaakov said unto Pharaoh, the days of the years of my sojournings are 130 years. Few and evil have been the days of the years of my life, and they have not attained unto the days of the years of the life of my fathers in the days of their sojourning.
Now read 49:26 again, please.
The blessings of thy father are mighty beyond the blessings of my progenitors.
This represented the change in Jacob. Because when Jacob came to Pharaoh, he saw Joseph again. Things were starting to get better, but he was still embittered about the life that he led.
That's right. That's right.
Was still embittered.
That's right.
He said, few and evil have been the days.
That's right.
17 years of peace. Raising children and grandchildren. Gave him clarity to show the direction that God was bringing him in. And that's what he needed at that point. Because when he came in, Jacob was just like done. He had it with everybody. He went to meet Pharaoh and he said the best thing that, imagine a godly man, and the best thing that a godly man could come up to say is, few and evil have been the days.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
He was done. And it just show you the type of thing that the children of Israel, whether they're the literal children of Israel or the entire nation of children of Israel, it'll show you the point that they could put you in sometime. And the only thing that's going to bring you back, and the only thing that's going to keep you sane, is the understanding and trying to find your way to God and understand what God wants from you.
Okay.
Because that's going to be the only thing that brings sanity. Benjamin.
Benjamin is a wolf that raveneth. In the morning he devoureth the prey, and at even he divideth the spoil. All these are the 12 tribes of Yisrael. And this is it that their father spoke unto them and blessed them. Everyone according to his blessing he blessed them. And he charged them and said unto them, I am to be gathered unto my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Mamre, in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field from Ephron the Hittite for a possession of a burying place. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife, and there they buried Yitzchak and Rebekah his wife, and there I buried Leah. The field and the cave that is therein, which was purchased from the children of Chet.
Go on, and I just want to point out that, so at the point that Leah spoke the prophecy about Yehuda that actually came to pass through Jacob's words, she didn't even live to see it because she was already buried.
Right.
But her words about her child lived on nonetheless.
And when Yaakov made an end of charging his sons, he gathered up his feet into the bed and expired and was gathered unto his people. Chapter 50, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And Joseph fell upon his father's face and wept upon him and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father. And the physicians embalmed Yisrael. And 40 days were fulfilled for him, for so are fulfilled the days of embalming. And the Egyptians wept for him 60 days. And when the days of weeping...
I don't know where they get this whole... I don't know where they get this thing from in Judaism that you got to be buried the next day. Or buried in Shiva. I don't know where it came from. They said they mourned for Jacob how long?
And 40 days were fulfilled for him, for so are the days of embalming. And the Egyptians wept for him 60 days.
Let me guess, they was sitting by Eden, right?
Yeah.
That's sitting 40. See, if y'all was in Hebrew class, y'all would have all laughed at that. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's go.
And when the days of weeping for him were past, Joseph spoke unto the house of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found favor in your eyes, speak, I pray you, in the ears of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, Lo, I die. In my grave which I have digged for me in the land of Canaan, there shalt thou bury me. Now therefore let me go up, I pray thee, and bury my father, and I will come back. And Pharaoh said, Go up and bury thy father, according as he made thee swear. And Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt, and all the house of Joseph and his brethren, and his father's house, only their little ones and their flocks, and their herds they left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond the Jordan, and there they wailed with a very great sorrow and wailing. And he made a mourning for his father 7 days. This is probably where they get it.
Yeah.
And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning in the floor of Atad, they said, This is a grievous mourning to the Egyptians. Wherefore the name of it was called Abel Mitzrayim, which is beyond the Jordan.
So now you have Canaanites that were black people, and they looked at some Egyptians who were also black people, and they looked at this other group of people who was what they was, but all they saw was that they all looked the same.
Right.
So when they looked, they saw the Egyptians and they saw the Israelites, and they all looked the same. And it's not related to clothes. Can you put the picture up, please, of the picture that they found in the tomb in Egypt? And it's not because of clothes, because if it was because of clothes, they would have said, there go some Egyptians and some Europeans wearing some Egyptian clothes.
Right.
Obviously, it was different. I mean, obviously, they all look the same. And they recognize that they all look the same, just to kind of show, I think at this point, everybody are starting to realize that the whole thing about Jewish people being the children of Israel is a lie. And they're trying to hold on to it for as long as they can. But it's like the Most High God said when he said, frustrates the tokens of the liars making their diviners mad. Right. Because when you trying to defend something that is indefensible,
right,
that's where it leaves you. Come on.
And his sons did unto him according as he commanded them. For his sons carried him into the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah, which Abraham bought with the field for possession of a burying place of Ephron the Hittite in front of Mamre.
When you get a chance, just put up the picture that has the 2 New York Post articles, please. Come on.
Time sheet?
Yes.
And Joseph returned into Egypt, he and his brethren and all that went up with him to bury his father, after he had buried his father. And when Joseph's brethren saw that their father was dead, they said, it may be that Joseph will hate us, and will fully requite us all the evil which we did unto him. And they send a message unto Joseph, saying, thy father did command before he died, saying, so shall you say unto Joseph.
You know, some people still don't get it, right?
Right.
Sometimes when you get caught, sometimes you just need to just let the lie go. They refuse. And listen, if you ask me, I think Simeon was the one that wrote this letter. I think Simeon wrote the letter, and I think Levi delivered the letter. Listen, with the side commentary, please. Please. But with all that aside, sometimes people just don't get it. You know, a lot of times you don't get to heal until you start to let go all of the negative, all of the lies, all of the this. You don't get to heal until you start to let that stuff go. Come on.
So shall you say unto Joseph, forgive, I pray thee now, the transgression of thy brethren and their sin, for that they did unto thee evil. And now we pray thee, forgive the transgression of the servants of the God of thy father. And Joseph wept when they spoke unto him. And his brethren also went and fell down before his face, and they said, behold, we are thy bondmen. And Joseph said unto them, fear not, for am I in the place of God? And as for you, ye meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring to pass as it is this day, to save much people alive.
Mm-hmm.
Now therefore,
Right. No. You know, so I'm gonna say two things, and then I'm gonna talk about. Can you put that picture back up for those on the internet? I'm gonna say two things, and then I'm gonna talk about the picture that's up, and I want to talk about another picture that's gonna be posted after. You know, it's very difficult for people to come together when you refuse to acknowledge the wrong that's happening all around. Because what's gonna happen is there's always gonna be that elephant in the room, for lack of a better term, because it's always there. There's not gonna be true healing until you put everything aside. Sometime, and maybe apologies aren't always in line, because sometimes there's just like that misunderstanding. And until you put everything out on the table, you don't get to get past certain things. The other thing that I'm gonna tell you is that it's very difficult for you to come together, back to the word that I was talking about in the beginning, without Torah. Because when you have multiple parties and multiple people can't agree, and can't agree to agree or agree to disagree, that means at least somebody, at least one of those parties, maybe all, is not keeping Torah. Because the way Torah is set up is set up and designed to bring us together. Mm-hmm. And if we can't come together, some aspect of Torah is not being followed. That picture that he has up online, talking about this coming together. Now, I kind of changed my outlook on how I was going to speak about it after a conversation with a certain individual, but I still feel a certain way. No, I mean, the information that the individual gave me was important. It was valid information. I still think the bottom line of it is this. So you're going to have two articles. You have a New York Post article where they talk about a Hasidic man and and they arrested the Hasidic man and how they dealt with the Hasidic man when they arrested him. The one they was blocking the street. They was blocking the cars. What is that? They was blocking the cars. They was blocking the street. The police tried to get to the front to stop to get to the middle of what was happening because the whole street was blocked. Walked past the Jewish man. Jewish man said, "What you pushed me for? This happened, that happened." Jewish man gets arrested. They start calling the police Nazis. They took the man to jail. The Jewish people went, followed them to the jail, and stood outside until he was released the same day on a desk appearance ticket. Yet, you have a young lady who the only thing she did was sit on the floor. And they called the police because she was sitting on the floor. Last time I checked, sitting on the floor was not a crime. It's not a crime in the library. It's not a crime in Starbucks. It's not a crime in the subway. It's not a crime in any of those different places. So why is it a crime in the welfare office? Why is it a crime in the welfare office? And the images of them pulling the baby or the arm or snatch the baby or do this or do all of those different things, the images, and then she had to spend 4 days in jail, not in records, she not even in the bookings. They sent her to Rikers. 4 days in Rikers. And at the end of it all of the charges was dropped anyway. Which means that the charges wasn't really valid in the first place. Or it means that they realized that you would show so much disrespect to this lady that the very least you could do is drop the charges. But the difference, the people who were there, in the case with the Jewish guy, they all stuck together. Nazis. Follow them to the precinct until you let them out. Like I think they got that from Malcolm X. Follow them to the precinct until you let them out. But then when it come to us, we divided on how they treat us. Well, why she have to be sitting on the floor? Why is that the most important thing? Can somebody tell me why is that the most important? Why she had to be sitting on the floor? Can you go to the next image? The one with the next image, the 4 articles. And not for nothing, if somebody was trying to take me somewhere and I didn't know what was gonna happen to my 1-year-old child, I remember I was picking up Tahir from preschool. I'll tell you how long ago that was. I was actually taller than him then. Not by much, but I was close. I was picking up Tahir from preschool, and the mother Tex had been picking him up all along. This was like the 2nd week, something like that. Tex had been picking him up all along, but usually I'm the one that pick him up, but it just happened this way. So I came to the door, he jumped up, came running to me. Teacher stopped him at the door. No. So now Tahir is looking like, like over those little blue Nintendo glasses he used to have. And she says, "Who are you?" I said, "Oh, I'm his father. I understand. No big deal. I'm his father. Come on, Tahir." "No, don't." What you mean don't? What you mean don't? So I'm calm. And she's like, "Yeah, I just need to verify." And I said, "Okay, I'm his father." I said, she said, first she asked me for ID. I gave her my ID. She looked at the blue. She said, "You're not on the blue card as allowing to pick him up." So I said, "Let me see the blue card." She gives me the blue card. I looked at the blue card, and the blue card said, "Mother, Tex, father, me." And I said, "I'm right there." And she said, "No, but you're not on the blue card to be able to pick him up." See, I said, "Let me ask you a question." And so now I'm starting to get frustrated. And so I said, "Let me ask you a question. So when the mother comes to pick him up, does she show ID?" And she says, "Well, no." I said, "Why not?" "Because she's on the top of the blue card. So am I." Well, listen, you can't, and now Tahir is kind of like, and he went to come again, and no, actually I said, "Tahir, come on, Tahir, Bo." And she said, "No." I said, "Miss, let me tell you something." And at that point, because I was thoroughly done, I don't know who you think you talking to. It's my child. And I said, "Let me tell you something, miss." And I said some things. I don't think I cursed. I don't think I cursed. But I did let her know that if you don't stop telling my son to disobey me, there's going to be a set of hands that's going to be around your neck. She moved her arm. Zaire came outside, and I was angry. When I tell you after I left, I called Tats. She ain't answer. I called my mother. She ain't answer. I called my grandmother. My grandmother finally answered. I'm like, Grandma, let me tell you what it is. And I gave her the whole story. I'm dragging Zaire down the street, walking here, because I'm like, yo, who do you think you're talking to? So if you look at the next image, you have 4 articles where the first article is, for those of y'all who don't have the image, the first article is CNN fires Mark Lamont Hill following controversial comments that he made about Israel. All he said was the Palestinians should be free. I mean, the long and short of it is, all he said was the Palestinians should be free, just like before y'all started putting all of these restrictions, seeing them fired. Second article underneath it is about the White House correspondent back in 2010 who was forced to resign because she said the Jews need to get out of Palestine and they need to go back home to Poland and to Germany. And she was forced to resign because they said the funny thing was nobody asked, is it true? It's just that you just can't say it. You just can't say it. Mm-hmm. However, then you read the 2 articles on the right, and the first article was it showed the video of a racist cop in Colorado. The cop made a racist comment that was caught on his video cam, on the body cam. He made a comment. The chief of police fired him, and they said, we think you firing him was too harsh. You should have just gave a lesser punishment, and they gave him his job back. Wow. The comment that he made was, I want to make sure I say it right. They were just in the middle of a stop, and his comment was, we got all the Alabama's porch monkeys contained. We got all the Alabama porch monkeys contained.
Referring to black people when you said porch monkeys.
Black people, the only people who have been called the monkey that I ever heard of being called the monkey. But thanks for the clarification, because yes, referring to they
might not know.
They hear. I bet a whole bunch of them heard the term monkey a whole bunch of times in a whole bunch of different places. So when I said monkey, I think they know who the monkey. I'm just saying. That's just my opinion. And the last one was the Mississippi senator who made the comment about I would if he had if he invited me to a public hanging, I would go. Still got reelected. In the face of a comment. So now, what does that say? It says that you can talk about some things, but some things are off limits for you to talk about. Can't talk about Jews. Can't talk about homosexuals. Excuse me. Can't talk about homosexuals. Do I need to bring up the whole Kevin Hart Oscars incident? So, you know, the funny thing is, we could be subject to all types of disrespect, abuse, oppression, and all of that. And then when we go to talk about it, we have to talk like we on eggshells. When we go to talk about it, because you have that fear of being vilified for what you say, or what you say it about, what you're talking about, versus what exactly you're saying. Yet, when we speak in a calm voice, calm tone, what happens is we alienate all of the hundreds of thousands of people who've been frustrated and embittered by the 400 years of how we've been treated since we've been here. You know, when NWA made that song F the Police, they caught all types of flack. How you gonna say that? You had all types of people, including black people. How you gonna say that? That's not right. That's not this. But those of us who've been exposed to that, you understood what they meant. Because, and I'll just give you an example of what I'm talking about. Before that the pretty Brooklyn Bridge Park that they have over there with the fiberglass rims and the nice flowers and all of that. Before that was the pretty Brooklyn Bridge Park. That was the rat-infested docks. That the cops used to take people when they didn't want to put them through the system. And it's not even important for me to tell y'all how I know. Y'all just need to understand that I know. Just need to understand that I know. I'm just saying, I don't think the 75th precinct area is over there in Dumpo.
No, it ain't.
So why police cars from the 75th precinct is over in Dumpo? That's what used to happen. And the funny thing about it is a lot of times for the people who it happened to, you would have much rather had dealt with the police rather than having to call your parents. Because if they actually called your parents would have probably gave you something worse than the police gave you, just for you being in a situation that you know you ain't have no business being in. No. So I say all of that to say, if we not willing to take a stand, we take it down. Yes, please. If we not willing to take a stand about things like the NFL and CNN, and if we not willing to really try to find out what happened to Sandra Bland over in Texas, how can we say we really have a real love for each other when we not really willing to do what it takes to get to the bottom of those issues? You know, and I'm talking about like taking like a real stand, not just where we boycott H&M until they have an 80% off sale, then it's okay to go back. I'm talking about boycott H&M until H&M recognizes that you recognize the power of the dollar that you have. I was gonna say until they learn to respect you, but that ain't gonna never happen. Because they ain't gonna learn to respect you. Because the fact of the matter is that for 250 years, they gave strong propaganda to show why black people were the bottom feeders of the entire earth. How you were monkeys and animals and all of those different things for 250 years. And then for the next 115 or 20, they kind of was just trying to figure it out. But yet, in 2018, people still feel like it's perfectly okay to call people Alabama porch monkeys just in the sight of everybody. In the sight of everybody. You know, if we don't recognize the propaganda from what they did to us, maybe we can understand the propaganda this way. Because the same way that they're trying to depict, that they depicted us for the last 200 years, 250 years, is the same way that they're trying to do with the people from Central America now. They're murderers, they're rapists, gang members. Unfortunately for me, I can't relate. Because the only faces that I saw that murdered and raped and did all types of gang activity was plantation owners, slave owners, people in white sheets. Last time I checked, Central Americans ain't wear white sheets. Harvey Weinstein not from Central America. Neither are the 300 priests that they found in Pennsylvania that they said molested over 1,000 children.
Facts.
None of them from Central America. And the funny thing is, I still haven't heard of any Catholic priest being charged with anything.
Right.
Even though currently 13 states have just started an investigation. I went into all of that to help us to understand how important it is that we need to not only come together, but stick together. Because nobody is going to take care of us the way we take care of us. The problem is that we haven't really recognized how important we are to each other yet. But we will. Because we need to.
Verse 21. Now therefore fear ye not, I will sustain you and your little ones. And he comforted them and spoke kindly unto them. And Joseph dwelt in Egypt, he and his father's house. And Joseph lived 110 years, and Joseph saw Ephraim's children of the third generation. The children also of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were born upon Joseph's knees. And Joseph said unto his brethren, I die, but God will surely remember you and bring you up out of this land unto the land which he swore to Abraham, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov. And Joseph took an oath of the children of Israel, saying, God will surely remember you, and ye shall carry up my bones from hence. So Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
All honors, praises, respect, acknowledgement, and thanks are offered unto the great King of the universe, to the God of our fathers, to the God of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, thanking him for all things and everything. Shabbat Shalom, Nicole.
Shabbat Shalom.